What does God want? I mean, are we allowed to just extrapolate that God created us and we're human beings, and we see that human beings that are scared get nowhere, whereas human beings who get bruised do better? Are we to learn from Moses, pushing limits in his own life, or like how are we supposed to take this? What does Judaism say about this? And can we say that conventional Judaism today, what I would call post-Enlightenment Judaism, with all the systems, are those systems that are in place, are they built for order or chaos? Which one? Yeah, it's a massive order. Massive order. Maybe one of the last places where you could find such order in the world as the educational system and the observant population. But the question is, what does God want? And what does Torah say? What does Torah say about order and chaos? What does Torah say about order and chaos in Genesis?
There was chaos before there was the world. It was tohu.
Yeah, the world started with chaos, and what that chaos was, tohu and vohu is if you study Kabbalah, tohu and vohu means the mixture of darkness and light. When God said, "Let there be light," what He was really saying is, "Let light and darkness be separated from each other. Let there be order between that. Let it not be just chaotic, of light and dark mixed in together." It's interesting that people are involved in things like sorcery, black magic, these types of things, and also a lot of pagan ritual is often mixing them, darkness and light together. Jews are particularly sensitive around these types of people. I know I am very sensitive. I'm much more likely than probably most of you to wind up in the presence of someone who's, just because as a rabbi, and not the average rabbi, I wind up often in panels of people who are involved in all kinds of other traditions. And whenever I'm around the mixture of darkness and light people, so I'm just like, I don't want that. We're really into purity. And you notice that Judaism itself calls our physical world, this physical world around us, it's called darkness. This world is called the Olam HaChoshech, our world, our physical world. You know why it's called Olam HaChoshech, world of darkness? Because it was created with what? It was created with light. But if you allow light to just do its thing, so then you get light. If you make the world out of light, what do you get? Light, which means you never get a world. So how do you ever get a world? And the answer is you got to filter out the light. What happens when you filter out light? What do you get? You get darkness. So like, for example, you see the light now shining on the board. You can turn this a little, just watch the screen while you turn. Press it into the table, but start turning it. Oh no, you were doing good before. Hold steady it, yeah. So if you look at the light on the screen over here, so if I put my hand in the way, you see that I've filtered out the light, but it creates the image of my hand in the shadow. So by filtering out light, I get darkness, and that darkness now is an image. And that is exactly how the creation works. The creation of the world works in that God created the world with light, and then filtered it out via these parallel worlds in the metaphysical realms. And all those worlds do is filter out light in order that we can have a physical existence down here. But everything's ultimately made of that light. So for example, if you hit the top light switch, you'll notice You would think my hand, in a sec, yeah, hit the top switch in a sec, not yet. You would think that the reason my fingers are there are because, the shadow of the fingers are because my hands are blocking the light, right? But no, it's also created by light, because I'll keep my fingers there and you'll see they'll disappear. Oops. Oh, did you hold it down? Okay. But now you see my fingers are gone, but they're still there. So it's not really, even the light's also the darkness. Go ahead, you can turn it on again. And then as the light comes on, so it's pretty interesting because it was the absence of the light that created the image. So you thought it was me causing an absence of light was creating it. No, it was the light, because everything's made of the light. Everything in creation is made of light. And that mixture of darkness and light, and then God separating out the light, and then calling it good. And I think that we're all just so used to hearing God call that good, but that's really important that God calls it good. It's really important. You know why it's really important that God calls it good? Because as a human being, how would you ever know something's good? How would you know something's good? How would you know? You ever thought about that? How do you know something's good? Now, if you're a believer in God and you're a believer in Torah, so we know what's in the Torah, what it says is good and what it says is bad. But how would anyone else know that anything is actually good? And he mentions a lot of things that are good, but we see already that this separation of darkness and light, that it's something good. But chaos, that's chaos and order. And it sounds more like the order is good than the chaos. But yet, none of us could grow without the chaos. You're only sitting in this building right now, which is made of order, because we had a very chaotic leader named Rav Noah Weinberg. And we should have just minded our own business and stayed in some old building we were living in. And, he made everyone crazy to build this building. He threw us all into total chaos. Are you glad that we had a chaotic leader now that you're sitting here? Yeah, that was good. What do you do when you have a chaotic leader who does all that kind of leading, and then he passes away, and the next person in control is usually a control person, not a chaos person. They're an order person. Because they're probably, the reason they wound up second in command here is because they were really commanding everything from behind the scenes, because the chaotic leader needed somebody who was very ordered behind him. But now you have an organization run by an order person.
No growth.
No more growth. And then it just dies, because it doesn't know how to shed its own skin anymore. Because only a proper leader knows how to shed skin. And so it's very interesting that our current Rosh Yeshiva, may live and be well and continue to be Rosh Yeshiva, Rav Yitzhak Berkowitz, understands order and chaos deeply. But he left Eshet Torah a few years before the Rosh Yeshiva passed away. And so we're stuck without our leader until just now. We're about to hold this major event honoring Rav Yitzhak Berkowitz as our new Rosh Yeshiva. And he knows about order and chaos.
When did Rabbi Weinberg pass away?
I don't know. About 10 years. What?
That sounds like too far back.
2009.
2009? 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Can anyone else think of whether God and Torah is about limitation or is about pushing the limits? Yeah.
I can't think of when the Torah is, but I know that when God created the world, that the way it created the world is entropy, the nature of the world is that it's continuously in chaos.
Because it's expanding.
Energy is being put into it to keep it in order.
Mm-hmm.
I just found it interesting.
That energy that's being put into it to keep it ordered is called Shin, Dalet, and Yud. That's the name of God that keeps the order.
comes from the sun, which is light.
What's that?
The energy also comes, like Hashem put it into the sun, which is also light.
Right, but that's not what keeps us from entropy. Anyone else have?
It seems to me that the world seems to be going in the direction of chaos.
You mean society, humanity?
Society, it continually seems to go to chaos, hit rock bottom, then it makes its way up with some energy, and then it goes back down to chaos. The aftermath keeps getting heading towards chaos.
Mm-hmm. You know, it also comes out with liberals and conservatives. Conservatives like order. They respect order. They feel order is important. And so does everybody else. Liberals tend to forget it.
It seems to me that there's an energy in the world that naturally goes towards chaos unless Shin Dara limits even the chaos.
Mm. Well, that's what its job is, to limit the chaos.
Limit the chaos.
So what was I going to say about oh yeah, conservatives and liberals. Conservatives respect order, and liberals like to tear it down. And there's a big important place for that, for tearing it down. And you'll notice that society is constantly undulating between order and chaos, like you're saying. And so right now, the liberals have the upper hand, at least in the media, and media is much bigger than televisions today. It's like, it's really very powerful, and it would like its values, or I don't know if the right word's values, because it's getting rid of the values that the conservatives feel is the proper order, and so. But on the other hand, it's very important to have that liberal voice that will tear down order that's calcified. You understand? There's an order that's calcified in a way that doesn't serve us anymore. For example, hierarchies are really important in society. Like, if hierarchies, the term. So, like, for example, if let's say you needed surgery on your thumb. Yeah, you want the best doctor, or you want the mediocre doctor? Take the best. You like hierarchies? Yeah, we like hierarchies. And if someone's working on my car, I'd like the best mechanic before I start driving my car at 120 kilometers per hour. So hierarchies are fine, but the hierarchy, it's really important that a hierarchy has to do with, it's a hierarchy of competence. Liberals just want to throw all hierarchy out. But hierarchy is supposed to be a hierarchy of competence. And that's good. That's healthy. We all want it. And the funny thing is, it's even the biggest bleeding heart liberal, if they have to get surgery, suddenly throws their whole hierarchy business out the window, and they just want the best surgeon. And so, but what often happens is that the top of any system gets power. Hierarchy of power is really evil stuff. Biggest atrocities have taken place because the hierarchy turned into a hierarchy of power instead of competence. And it's likely flips that way, especially when people under the top are less competent. When people at the top are less competent than the people under them. So they need to start going for the power. Meaning they have to wield power to stay in control, to stay in power. And so they might have gotten there for the right reason. They might have been the most competent, but they can easily shift into it being a hierarchy of power. Like, for example, Trump could have gotten in. I don't think he was necessarily the hierarchy of competence, but let's just say he was. That Trump was he got in the presidency as the hierarchy, from a hierarchy of competence. And he did have some business sense, I suppose, after years of running businesses. But so there was competence, but how easily could that shift to a hierarchy of power in his second term? And then the U.S. is like, whoever got out in time, and whoever didn't. Because things spiral out of control real quick when you're in a situation where the government's in a hierarchy of power. Things go south quick. And they also, generally, it's usually not safe for Jews in those environments, no matter where you go, for their own reasons. It just we never seem to do well when governments start moving into power mode. And maybe that has to do with our own competence, is that we are the great critic of humanity. And when you want to be involved in power like that, maybe you want to get rid of your critics. Like Stalin was very into getting rid of his critics. Millions of people died, more than World War II. People died under the Soviets in their power and their extermination of critics. So, and Jews are, extremely critical, distinguishing, important distinctions in the world. So, you could say that the liberals are more the push the limits, and the conservatives are more the keep honor the limits. But for all of us, I think the takeaway for this class is that we all need to be balanced between the two. We have to be balanced in the order of life, and between the order and the chaos. And we have to dance that dance, which is the order dance and the chaos dance, and to be make sure we're growing, but making sure we're not pushing too far out that we are losing our sense of security. If you're overly chaotic, you'll lose your security. If you're orderly ordered, you'll lose your zest for life. And so we need to be somewhere around the middle. We need to honor the past, the order of the past, and at the same time we need to have the courage to push through those limits in a way that will make sure that we stay dynamic and vital as a people.